genealogical table of the daughters of Manu, text number 38, line by line, after me. Pulahasya gatir bharya Trin asu tasati sutan Kama shrishtam vartyam sam. Oh, it's varyam sam. Sahishnum cha mahamate Pulahasya gatir bharya Gati Bharya wife Trin three Asuta gave birth Sati chaste Sutan sons Karma Shrishtam very expert in fruitive activities Variyam Sam very respectable Sahishnum very tolerant Cha also Mahamati oh great Vidura translation and purport by His Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Gati, the wife of the sage Pulaha, gave birth to 3 sons named Karmashishta, Variyan, and Sahishnu, and all of them were great sages. Purport. Gati, the wife of Pulaha, was the 5th daughter of Kardama Muni. She was very faithful to her husband, and all her sons were as good as he. So, once more the verse reads, Pulahasya gatir bharya Trin asutta sati sutan kamashishtam variyam sam sahishnum cha mahamate. Please repeat the translation. Gati, the wife of the sage Pulaha, gave birth to 3 sons, named Karmashrishta, Variyam, and Sahishnu, and all of them were great sages. Mukam Groti Bachala Mangamanayati Gariva Kripikam Nande Shrivam Nilatarnam Paramaham. So, this chapter is describing the onward progress of the Sarga, the creation. This is the stage in which the Prajapatis, and Manu is Prajapati, Kardama Muni is Prajapati. So the Prajapatis are producing very exalted progeny for the population of the universe. The progeny produced by the Prajapatis are all Vibhuti Amsa. They are expansions of the Lord's Vibhuti, His various glories. So it is mentioned here, for example, one of the sons of Gati is named Karma Shrishta because he's very expert in performing Vedic fruitive activities. So that means he is endowed with special skills that Hare Krishna, oh, Maharaj is coming. So he is endowed with Jai Maharaj. Endowed by the Lord with a particular skill which is for the furtherance of Vedic culture and knowledge in the universe. So in the beginning of creation, very beginning of universal creation itself, and actually also in the beginning of every day of Brahma, the creation is very fresh and pure and sattvic. The living entities are very, very highly qualified, being either direct sons of Brahma or sons of his sons. And these genealogical lines which are described in chapters such as this. So all of this is a testimony to the Aishwarya, the supreme opulence of the Lord. So the Lord is not null and void of qualities. We heard in the previous reading about Srila Prabhupada's travels in India, there was mention, in one sentence, to Srila Prabhupada's visit in a place in South India which is called Nellore. So when Prabhupada was there, he had been invited to stay in the house of a couple, an elderly couple, who were actually devotees of the infamous so-called Paramahansa Ramakrishna, who is a great modern-day Kali Yuga type of Mayavadi, which means he doesn't even follow the doctrine of Shankaracharya, nor practice the austerities that Shankaracharya established for those who would accept the impersonalist philosophy. Rather, he's a new type of homegrown, homemade Mayavadi. And that is progressively getting worse as time goes on. These type of persons, since they say everything is illusion, so it doesn't matter what you do in this world, because it's all just illusion anyway. So what's the need of even controlling the senses? If you just have this theoretical knowledge that I'm Brahman, I'm God, then you're liberated, according to them. So these people were followers of Ramakrishna, and the Ramakrishna mission in India is famously known as the Murgi mission. They distribute murgi, which means chicken, to the populace in the name of social service. They're distributing sinful foods, extremely vikarmic foods. So this is very inauspicious. So in this house, this couple, they had a tulsi garden, and there are two types of tulsi, Ram tulsi and Krishna tulsi. So the Ram tulsi is green, like Lord Ramchandra, and the Krishna tulsi is very dark, sort of a purplish black color, and therefore called Krishna. And they had arranged the tulsi plants, so Ram tulsi, then Krishna tulsi, Ram tulsi. So Ram Krishna, Ram Krishna, Ram Krishna. And even worse, even more incredibly, they would trim the tulsis. And the devotees looked at the tulsis, and they were in the shape of chickens. So, Murgi mission. So, this is an example. And of course, these people, they were actually just trying to cheat Srila Prabhupada. They were offering land, that's why he came. But they put so many conditions that it was clear that their idea was to let Prabhupada and the devotees develop the land, build something, and then they would take the property back at the appropriate moment, and whatever deities had been installed, remove and put Ramakrishna, whatever. Some mad idea. So anyway, this Mayavadi type philosophy, which is so predominant in the Kali Yuga, as Prabhupada said so many times, the whole point of their philosophy is to strip the Lord of his opulence, of his Aishwarya. The Lord is Lakshmi Narayan in Vaikuntha. He is the Lord of Lakshmi. But they have this idea, this was propagated by Ramakrishna, Daridra Narayan, Narayan without Lakshmi, without opulence, and we have to serve him by our social service, distributing murgi and so on. So, this is the great tragedy of this present age, that people, when they conceive, if they take any effort at all to conceive of God, it's in this voidistic way, because people now, they come to the thoughts of God generally by way of frustration. They've tried to enjoy themselves in this world, and so they start to think of God as an alternative to the attachment and frustration and all the distresses that they have placed themselves in by their attempt at sense gratification. So they think of the divine sphere as something alternative to that. So there should be no form, no activity, no senses, nothing. It's just a kind of absence of everything which they consider causes problem. This body causes problem. The fact that I'm a person, they think that's the source of my problem. So God, the divine, Brahman, whatever they call it, that should be totally absent of any of this. And then you can just safely merge into it. But again, this is a product of frustration. And because this age is so sinful, people are so frustrated because why? Because they're not following the Vedic culture. They do not have Vedic knowledge, so they do not know how to deal with this energy of the Lord, which is just another Aishwarya, as we see in Gita, the term, again, Vibhuti. The material energy is the Lord's Vibhuti, His power, His opulence. They do not know how to relate properly to it. And this is what the Vedic knowledge is supposed to instruct us in, that this is the Lord's energy, His Shakti. And yes, we are here, placed in this world, to perform sacrifice, devotional sacrifice for the service of the Lord. So they do not know this, so naturally their relationship with the Lord's energy is extremely troublesome. The Maya is punishing them for their ignorance and for their gross attempt at exploiting this energy for their own nefarious atheistic ends. So naturally, yes, they're frustrated. It's not surprising. And so then they're attracted to this impersonal alternative in which there's some, yes, void idea of God with no opulence at all. And I remember, I know in my preaching I've gone to some places where people have, until very recently, had no contact with Krishna consciousness whatsoever because they had been behind the Iron Curtain or something like that. And then when they come and they see Prabhupada's books on display, they're like, they don't know how to, they see a picture of Lord Vishnu, Lord Narayan on the cover of the Bhagavatam, and he's got a shining crown and opulent necklace and everything so effulgent, and in the background such a wonderful Garuda is there, and towering temples in the background, the Vaikuntha airplanes flying in the sky. And they just, it's not simply that it's so extraordinarily wonderful, but what bothers them is the opulence, you see. They become very suspicious. This is your conception of God with jewels and crowns, and it just sets them off somehow. And they don't know how to relate to that. Their idea of, if they have any idea of God, as I've seen, it's in the West, of course, there's Jesus Christ hung up on the cross with nails, you see, with a crown of thorns. He's suffering for our sake. That they like. When I was in Malaysia, sometimes visiting these estates out in the plantations, out in the jungle where they grow rubber trees and so on. So they have temple of Lord Shiva, and I saw in one temple as offering to Lord Shiva, just like we offer to the Lord crowns and flutes and garlands and everything. And also we have these karams, these padukas, these shoes with the peg. So they had also offered to Lord Shiva some big wooden padukas, but they had nails driven up from the bottom. So Lord Shiva would prove his renunciation by walking on such kinds of shoes. This is what they think. This is their idea of service to Lord Shiva. Offer him with nails, with shoes with nails driven up from the bottom. So they like this idea of a God stripped of opulence. It's safe for them because opulence, you see, this material energy in general, they find it very, very troublesome. But that's simply due to their ignorance. You see, it's explained in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Just like there is the Leela we know, Nitya Leela, Paramartha Leela it's called, in the spiritual world in Goloka Vrindavan. So also, the Lord's Leela of creation and maintenance and destruction is there. It's called the Vyavahar Leela. It's the Leela in which the Lord is relating to His material energy, just as in the spiritual world, he's relating to his own divine internal consort, Srimati Radharani, Goddess Lakshmi. So here he's relating with his external energy, although he's not in any way touched by that energy, but still he utilizes that energy in his plan. As Prabhupada says, what is the plan of this material world? To give an opportunity for the conditioned souls to go back home, back to Godhead. Because here we're given facility to serve the Lord, even within this material realm. That's the Lord's plan. So the Lord has manifested this world as an invitation to us to engage in that Leela, and in this way we become qualified for the transcendental Leela. But these unfortunate Kali Yuga entities, they have a hard time understanding this. So this is why Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come broadcasting Krishna consciousness by the congregational chanting of the holy name of Krishna. When Srila Prabhupada was in Germany for the first time, also there were these people who could not understand the Krishna consciousness movement, that they were living in a big castle, Schloss Rettershof, and they had advertised Prabhupada's visit with so many posters. Again, that the devotees are using the material energy for some greater purpose. This was really, really difficult for them to understand. So Prabhupada made a program there, the first program that he made actually not the very first in Germany, but one a little bit later. The hall was crowded, but the questions were all challenging. The questions were all, not very nice. And so afterwards, Srila Prabhupada said to the leaders of the yatra at that time, he said, you should make a lot of kirtan in this country and distribute lots of prasadam. Because the brain has to be purified in order to understand this philosophy, this culture, how devotees are living in this world, and what this opulence means. This is all for the Lord. And especially you go to India, actually, it's ironic how now in ISKCON the most opulent temples are in India. So, as I was telling Padmasambhava on the way here, if you transported one of these temples to the west, like the Bangalore temple or Juhu, it would be worth tens of millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars probably. People have a hard time understanding this because of their ignorant relationship with the material nature. So they have to become enlightened, and this is the means that Lord Chaitanya has given. So, papi tapi jatachilo. One may be sinful, one may be suffering, beaten down by the material nature, but Harinamo Uddhari. If he can hear and chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, then he'll be brought up. He'll be elevated, and then he can understand the fine philosophy of Krishna consciousness, the fine sattvic practice of devotional service. How, actually, Srila Prabhupada, he said, the mission of Krishna consciousness in this world is just like in Ramayana, to bring Sita back to Ram. Sita means Lakshmi, and Lakshmi has been taken by Ravana, by the demons. So the devotees have this mission to bring Sita back to Ram, to bring Lakshmi back to the Lord. And one has to be purified to understand this. So anyway, this is what we're seeing in this chapter. The distribution of the Lord's vibhuti, his opulences throughout the universe in the form of the propagation of ideal Vedic personalities, such sages as mentioned here, Karmashreshta, Vari and Sahishnu, great souls who actually embody the special skills and knowledge and abilities that are manifest within the universal form itself. So this is for the sake of all living entities in the universe, that Brahma and the Prajapatis populate the universe in this way. So I'll stop here. Are there any questions? No? Yes. Yes, sir.
I heard one time that Prabhupada said if the devotees dress the deities opulently, then we will become beautiful and opulent. But if we neglect to dress the deities nicely, then we'll become rich.
Come, what? I couldn't hear the end.
We'll become like, I'm not sure the exact words, but like very richer than our own opulences will be taken away.
You're speaking very softly, it's hard for me to hear what you're saying. I'm sorry.
I heard that Prabhupada said if the devotees dress the deities very opulently and nicely, then we'll become very beautiful and opulent. But if we neglect to dress the deities nicely, then our own beauty and personal maintenance will go down.
Yeah, this is the basic principle of sacrifice. The deities are there to receive our devotional sacrifice. So as much as we are bringing in by the grace of the Lord, then the best part of that should be offered to the Lord in sacrifice. And this is the formula for increase, increase, increase. As we are satisfying the Lord, engaging His energy in His service, so then He is pleased to bestow more and more. This is it's like a test. The Lord is seeing how we will use His energy. So if we squander what He gives us in the beginning, waste it, then why should He give more? But if we utilize what He gives to satisfy Him, then it's like we're showing that we're trustworthy with His energy, and so He's pleased to give more and more. Another thing is that this energy is actually the energy of when we say material energy, this is actually the energy of Srimati Radharani herself. And so we should be very, very careful with it. There's a nice story told by one of Srila Prabhupada's godbrothers, Dolo Govinda Shastri. He was a young servant of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, as a boy practically, young boy, teenage boy. So he saw Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, many different activities through the years. And once he remembers at the Yoga Pit in Gaudiya Math, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he had his room in which he did his work, and there were double doors which opened to the courtyard, and in that courtyard there was a kitchen and a go-down, and he could see out through the windows. And so after he gave a class one morning, he was talking about renunciation. So he was, to his brahmachari disciples, sannyasi disciples, he's telling them the importance of being detached and don't become involved in material nature, don't endeavor intensely to acquire material opulence like this. And they were all very happy to hear this. Yes, Guru Maharaj is speaking on renunciation. Very nice. So then a little bit later he was in his workroom and he was writing on his desk, and then he happened to look out and he saw one of these langula monkeys, these gray monkeys, big gray monkeys with a black face, swung down into the courtyard and went into the go-down and grabbed 2 bananas. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati came bursting out through those double doors. He had a stick in his hand. And all of his disciples, they were looking and watching the Guru Maharaj chase this monkey. and the monkey went, they were going around the courtyard. Finally the monkey jumped out and ran away. So everyone was astonished and no one dared to say anything for a while. Then finally Dolo Govinda Shastri, because he was the personal servant, he found an appropriate time to ask Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur the meaning, because the questions that were going around among the devotees was, this morning Guru Maharaj was saying we should all be very renounced and detached, but now we have seen him go to great lengths with a stick chasing a monkey that had only 2 bananas. So then Dolo Govinda Shastri asked this question, and Guru Maharaj, can you explain? Everyone wants to know why you were so seemingly attached to 2 bananas. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur very gravely said, those 2 bananas are the property of Srimati Radharani. So, for that reason. So you see, there is a higher principle of attachment, so to speak. Yes, we must be attached to the lotus feet of Shri Radha and Krishna. We must be attached to their service. And we must be attached to the energy that Srimati Radharani personally makes available to us for that service, because that is her department. She is supplying everything to the devotees for the service of the Lord. And we need to see like that, and we respect that energy as it comes and utilize it very, very carefully. So this is what Srila Prabhupada said. This is why every temple every temple community, in ISKCON should be centered around deity worship. The deity is the Lord of the community. The best that we have to offer is for the satisfaction of the deity. All right then, thank you.
One question.
Yes, another question. Okay.
Maharaja, you always cheat us by not staying long enough, so I'll just ask one thing.
Well, I can't stay too long. I'm told the class has to end at 8 o'clock, so I'm trying to respect that.
Maharaja, another point is that people often find renunciation tractable, so therefore, as devotees, we should make Krishna very popular. But if we live quite simply, like Prabhupada was encouraging different self-sufficient projects, then that could also be very attractive for people in a different way.
Yes. Just to give a practical example, in Czechoslovakia, or now it's Czech Republic, Slovakia. So in the Czech Republic, they have a very, natural farm community, and they're growing great amounts of grain, and they have one of the 3 in the whole country. There's only 3 of these stone mills, you actually grind the grains with a stone, between stones. And there's only 3 in the whole country, and this ISKCON farm has one. So they stone grind the grains, and then in the city of Prague, they have restaurants and several bakeries now. And they advertise that the bakeries were selling stone. It's in one of these brown paper type of very eco-conscious looking packaging. Stone ground flour grown in our own farm. And the restaurants are saying we are cooking with such flour. And also they grow vegetables on the farm, a lot of vegetables which are used in the restaurants too. So this is quite the item. This is very attractive. And people flock to the bakeries and the restaurants there because they have faith in just what you said. They see the devotees are living a simple, ideal life and producing these very natural foodstuffs, so they want to eat that type of foodstuff. They have faith in it. So actually, this combination of simple life and Prabhupada said, prasadam will be our greatest weapon. It is very, very powerful. It's a very, very powerful combination. It's not just a matter of being simple for ourselves, but it's also part and parcel of the preaching, the representation of Krishna consciousness to the society. So that's very, very powerful. But you can also use opulence in Krishna service too, you see. So it just depends. I think it's a question of the individual proclivity and expertise of the devotees. So there are devotees who are expert in what I've just described, and there's other devotees who will be expert in making business and making lots of money and and even showing that wealth in their own life, because there are people who are interested in that too, and they need to be shown the right way. They need to be shown how to live in a good situation in this life, because certain occupations in Varnashram Dharma, it's required for Kshatriyas, Vaishyas also. You see, it's actually part of their Dharma. So, but one has to do this expertly, not get entangled in the material nature. And so, underlying all this is the principle of yajna, sacrifice. And our sacrifice is Sankirtan yajna. All right, so I'm going to stop here now. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.